Bit of a quieter week this week in the workshop. Steve's on holiday. I think again really, because he had a few days off the other week as well. Anyway, got a wiring loom here, hot wire loom, also known as a 14 CUX wiring loom. We're supplying complete injection system over to a guy in the States. And this loom doesn't have lambda sensors on it, so we're just adding that. So we've got the shielded cables here, which will go up to pins, I think it's 22 and 23 off the top of my head. Onto this, no, 23 and 24, just looked at the instructions I wrote some time ago. So those will get pinned out to there. We've got earth wires, which we've added in here, run up through the loom, and then out to the lambda sensor here and here. Got some new multi-plugs, which go down to the lambda sensors, and then we've picked up the heater feed. Again, the red cables here go up and get their power supply off the correct point, which is on the centre of the fuel pump relay. So that's a little bit of what we're doing here. Let's show you a bit more. Moving on, we've also got the TR8, well TR7/8 into the workshop. It's been in Holly's engine building room for some time now. You've seen it in the background to a lot of videos. The 2-litre Rover V8 engine is located in the engine bay there with its supercharger bolted on. A TVR special engine. So I'm now going to get into the workshop and start wiring this engine up. So again, it's a hot wire system, so it uses the same wiring loom that I've just shown you just previously. The wiring loom's already in here, it's already wrapped. It just needs wiring into the car. So we've got the plug here, so we need a battery live, ignition live, earth. We need a speedo input, obviously we don't need that at the moment, just to fire it up. This wire here, I think there's the orange one with the black trace, that's for the manual gearbox resistor. If it was auto, that would be getting a feed from the inhibitor switch. So hopefully I can get a bit of workshop time in the next few weeks, and we'll actually get to hear this little monster fire up. I think you'll all be quite excited to hear that. I think we've just got some intercooler pipe work to finish as well, but I'm going to concentrate on the wiring initially. Let's see what else comes through the doors this week. Well, Holly has done it again. This is the 3.9 engine that we looked at last week. Now completed. Looking lovely. Got the customer's ancillaries on there that were sent through to us. He didn't send us his plug leads or amplifier or anything, so obviously we can't fit them up. So yeah, Edelbrock carburetor on there, the Edelbrock intake manifold, jetted up for the 3.9 litre engine with the power plenum and LPG mixer. So that will be running on LPG obviously. Everything looking very clean. Engine mounts there, ready to go. All the oil ways are primed in this engine, so the oil filter's got oil in it as well. The oil pump base is primed up with grease. No need to do any priming with drills down the distributor hole or anything, as we do with these engines in our workshop. This customer will be advised. Just have a friend turn the key while you rotate the dizzy round. The engine's built on TDC firing stroke. So number one, the rotor arm's already pointing there where number one should be, and when your friend is turning the key, just give the distributor a rotate, give the throttle a pump. It will start, assuming you've got everything wired up correctly, which isn't difficult on a carbureted engine obviously. And as soon as it starts, it will get oil pressure incredibly quickly because Holly's already primed all the oil ways and everything. So another engine which will now get packed onto a pallet and sent out to the customer. This video's going live Friday, and actually this engine will be with a customer on Friday. This is now Wednesday, so it'll leave us tomorrow. Okay, so out in the SD1 today, just putting some local miles on it. And obviously in driving a car and using it, that's when you start to sort of subconsciously check to see if everything's working and note down things that obviously aren't. So smooth this. So we have got a couple of very small jobs just left to finish on this. Some door seals, got another set coming in because I think these ones are split. So we're just going to try another set. I think they're all the old stock Indian consignment. Those that follow Rover SD1s will know what I'm talking about there. Tell you what, for a 3.5, the engine's really responsive.
Sounds nice too.
Yeah. Got a functioning stereo, an aerial that rises now when you turn the stereo on. That switch there, it's that side.
That side.
Yeah. So that's all working. Just little things like that, you know, they all take time. Obviously, once we've got the stereo working, we then put a nice fresh set of reasonable speakers in, as per the customer's request. All the gauges seem to be working, which is obviously good. We've got windows that all go up and down, a sunroof that opens and closes. We will be doing a full feature video of this car. It's just we'll get round to that once we've ticked all the boxes off of last little jobs. It's been a long time since I've driven an SD1. I think the last SD1 I drove was the 5-litre SD1 with the T5 gearbox in that we did some gearbox work on. A little bit different to driving this. This is far nicer. The 5-litre SD1 was sort of been race spec'd. It was a very, very noisy car. Fun, obviously, but a very different SD1 to this entirely.
Bit of a mad thing.
The other one was, yeah.
You can sit in this all day then.
Yeah, you could. It's really comfortable, actually. So we'll be putting a few more miles on this over the next week or two. And then obviously getting underneath it, checking everything, making sure nothing's rubbing, doing all the sensible things that you should do after you've done such extensive work on a car. Although obviously you know what you've done when you've built the car, there is no substitute for double checking your work. So yeah, we'll be putting a few more local miles on it, and then having a good look over everything, making sure nothing's rubbing, as I said, checking all the bolts are tight. Again, it's just double checking your work. There's no substitute for that on such a large project like this. Okay, this is the wiring loom complete. So everything's been wrapped, all the connections have been checked and cleaned. Multi-plug here, we send this information sheet out with, so the customer knows what to connect to, positive feed, where the fuel pump feed goes, this wire here for manual auto gearbox, what to do with that. Change the tune resistor to 1 so that the ECU knows to look for the lambda sensors and run that correct fuel map. We've got earth strap there, this connects onto the idle valve. All the injectors are numbered, so there's no confusion with plugging those in, along with the fuel temp sensor and coolant temp sensor, because the plugs on these are identical other than colour, but they will physically fit injectors. Seen it done before. Throttle position sensor and coil negative, and there's no mistaking this one really, it's the airflow meter one. So yeah, a pair of brand new lambda sensors here, all terminated, ready to go onto the loom, to these plugs, and again these are labelled up lambda 1357, lambda 2468, so that again the customer can't get them the wrong way round and run an infinite loop system of running one bank rich and one bank lean, which is what happens when you get the lambda plugs the wrong way round. So I think that pretty much concludes this week's video. Like we said, not too much going on. Obviously you've seen we've put a couple of videos up regarding the braking of this classic Range Rover and a P38 and some other vehicles we've got here as well. If you require any parts, then please do get in contact. We've had a few messages already overnight off the back of the braking Range Rover videos. Obviously the Mustang was nice to finish that off this week. We didn't really include it in last week's video because the starter motor issue, and obviously yeah, hopefully next week we will start getting into the TR8 project, or at least I will in my workshop time, getting the engine wired in and running. Okay, see you next week guys.